Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's August 23rd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And I thought I'd start out showing you the daily chart here. Again, this is our envelope indicator on here that kind of shows you these bands and so forth. These are based on fib numbers. But anyway, um, really strong bull day today. I mean, from the open right into the close. So it looks like we may finally be going to start this next leg up. Like I said, we could come back again, pull back and test this again before we go higher. So anything's still possible, but these are my near-term targets. First, I want to measure that leg up that went into this range, and then from the low point. So that'd be target number one. The other target would be to measure from the low point to the high point and then come back to this low point and look forward. So there's a couple of different ways to do it there. And you might even, if we get a leg here and pull back, then you may be able to measure this leg and look for the next leg. And if a lot of times what it'll do is it'll match one of these and probably be more realistic. So, or more accurate. Shouldn't say more realistic because I think both of these are realistic targets at this point. So this would be a really nice target here at 4,600. 45.50 is pretty good, but you see how quickly we went from 43.50 to 44.80. That's 130 points right there in just 3 days. So uh, from 44.80 to 45.69, that won't take long if we continue rallying like this. It may not take but a few days. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just saying these are targets. How we get there is the hard part. Finding the targets is often not that difficult to do, but how we get there is the hard part. So just keep that in mind. But I thought I'd put this chart up, and we'll see how it goes from there. But this has been a really strong 3-day rally here, and we may just continue to go higher. But let's go to the intraday chart. Okay, here we are with our intraday chart. I thought I would start off on a bigger picture here. Notice we had this big leg up and then this correction. And if you measure that leg, which is here, and it gives you the clone leg, and you put it over here, that gets us right to that gets us to our target today, basically. That would have given you a great target to push towards today. I talked about this target in my mid-morning chart. So, I was talking about this chart, that target at 9:30 this morning, which puts prices in here, which is still not that far away from the target by that time. But this was a really strong trend day. I mean, it was pretty much straight up. These days, on days like this, you're not going to get a lot of second entries. What you're going to see, I want to show you this, when you start to see lots of little bars that look like this with stems, it just doesn't look very strong, but the corrections are not very deep. They're not very steep. I mean, you can see the corrections were very mild all the way up, and you see lots of stems, lots of dojis, and prices just keep going higher. On days like that, you just about have to buy whatever you see in here. I didn't mark all these trades, but I wouldn't have any problem with going long right there, right here. This one's tempting, but it's a little bit congestive right there. But I wouldn't have a problem with any of those trades because you just don't get, maybe even right in here, a couple of these off this trend line. Maybe you take those too. They are right at the high of the day, but they are right off the trend line, and they're strong bull bars. So maybe you take those trades. I didn't mark them because they're a little aggressive, and most traders are not going to notice how strong this trend is. They're going to be, you'd be surprised how many people are trying to short this all the way up. I guarantee you somebody listening to this video, probably more than one person, probably a handful of you, maybe a bunch of you, tried to short this the whole way up. And then you finally decided to get long right up in here, and you probably got stopped out. And then you get flustered and you think, I can't do this. But all you had to do is buy this thing. This is a strong, strong trend. And the blue channel was really in play all the way to here. But by that time, I think we'd kind of folded over into this green channel. And there's even some more micro channels, these yellow ones in there. And there's some more. Like this is a little spiking channel right here. You know, I just don't want to get the chart so messed up that you can't see it. But there's another channel right there. Let's go ahead and put it on there. As we back out, it'll probably be a little easier to see. But they're there. And if you really wanted to, you could get rid of the blue one by this point. So let's back out. We'll talk about the trades, and we'll go from there. Okay. 7 o'clock came right in here. You can just disregard this trade. I put it on here because the trader had asked me about it. Notice that you got a new low right there. It's a first entry, second entry. That's a failed second entry short, and it's a reasonable long. Somebody asked me about that. That's the reason I put that on there. I forgot to take it off. But 7 o'clock came right in here, and we don't really generally start trading till 7. There's always going to be some people that start earlier based on where they live. You know, some people live on the other side of the world, and they want to trade this market, and you know they'll start a little bit earlier, a little bit late, and they may trade a little bit later. Although I don't really recommend trading much before 6 o'clock. Really, I don't believe in trading before 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, my time. But you can probably, the volume's starting to pick up pretty good around 6, so you might start trading at 6. But if you came in at 6 this morning, you'd have to ride that sideways stuff out. There is some support across there, as you can see. But and the main thing is the blue trend line. But clearly here you get a first entry and then a second entry. I marked this green. It's not a very good signal bar. It does look a little congestive. But there's a new low right there, and so you get a first entry and a second entry that fails. It's a failed second entry short, so it doesn't matter what the signal bar looks like. And you can see we took off clearly from there. The better move was probably to wait on that higher low that came right there. And when we broke higher above that little 3-bar matching high, you had to figure it was probably going to rocket up real quick as it runs stops of people trying to get short right in there. And it looks like that's exactly what happens. Profit taking came right in here, but then the buying came back. And from here on, it was, it's game on from this point forward. I mean, you can clearly see the strong trend. Technically, this looks like 2 legs up with a pullback, but I think there's only a first entry at this point. And that's the first break. So we could try to come back, which we did, but it broke lower first and turned and went up. I like going long on that higher low, and the sure trade was this failed second entry short. I think somebody asked me about this trade as well, and this is a repeat of this trade down here, almost a perfect repeat of it. And the trader that asked me about this, their channel was not correct because this was a midline on their chart. I don't know how they got a midline. I think they started from over here maybe, and you don't want to start your channel from the previous day. So if you do that, it's still not off a midline. I'm not sure how they got a midline, but somehow they must have started it at a lower point here somehow. Or they just didn't draw it right. I don't know, but they had this was bouncing off a midline here, and so that would make this one a little more suspect off a midline. But if I got a failed second entry short on a strong trend day off a midline, I'm probably going to take it because I think this bounce was off his midline too, if I'm not mistaken. I just don't know how he got there. But anyway, we come back to the trend line again right here, the blue one, and like I said, anytime you get a good reversal strong bar off a trend line in a rally like this, just take it. You could have taken this one too. I mean, I'm going to mark them green because you need to learn to spot these, but I generally don't mark them unless they're meet all our other criteria, because tomorrow somebody will see something that looks similar to this and they'll start trading these and lose their shirt, and they'll say, well, you said so. You have to be able to recognize what's going on, and this is clearly, look at this trend that keeps going high. This is a big correction, and that's probably the biggest one of the day so far. Now this one might have been a little bigger, but that was since the regular opening, really since 7 o'clock, that's the biggest correction we've had right there. And look at that reversal bar. There's a higher low here. I'm not too crazy about that one yet, because it's a little higher, a little congestive, but you probably could have taken it too. And then suddenly you can see there's a little spike in channel with the yellow one. And if you notice that, here are some more of these you could take. You could take probably that one. Any of these, you get a good signal bar there off that trend line. That one's not quite back to the trend line, but it's close enough. I liked that trade. You had to ride out this little pullback, but I liked that trade today in real time. This is low on that one, so that one doesn't qualify. There's one. Again, it's just a first entry, but it's off that yellow trend line. You can see that spike in channel in the yellow. There's one. That one's close. But it's so congestive there. I probably would have made that one green anyway. I don't see any more here. They're off that trend line. There's one, but it doesn't make a new low, so those prices don't break above it anyway. So and finally we get a break of the yellow and the green. We push to a new high, and then finally we get a bigger correction. It's still not a very big one, but you see that little trend working down. You get a break, a new low. You get the failed break below that support. I like going along there to ride that back up. When we get this higher low right off the support line again with a good signal bar, again, it's congestive, but this has been a strong trend day. We're probably going to go higher. We do. And then now suddenly it looks like we're in this range. At first, this only looked like support, but by now it's starting to look like a range. Then you get a triple test here with another great signal bar. So off that support, higher low here, as long as you got enough room to get out before here, I don't have any problem with that trade. I don't think I would go short here at all. I don't think it's worth it. We bounce again, but that signal bar is a little iffy, and that was probably a fairly decent move. So you could get two legs of correction like this. So you have to be real careful here. And pretty much it looks like that's what happened. You can see we went, dang, I can never grab what I want to grab. Somehow I messed that channel up too. But you can see that was pretty much a measured move, and then we bounced out of there. So there's your two legs down, and there's two legs up, which there's and we didn't quite get one, so that would lend you to believe that, hey, we'll probably get a bigger move down, which we do, which is we get a measured move. We get a little more than a measured move. So use these measured moves where you can. But long there, I still don't like going short on any of this. That one's tempting to go long. And I think it was probably a good trade if you took it. See if there's 6 ticks in there or not. Yeah, there's exactly 6 ticks, so you would have just gotten out of that trade if you took it. I wasn't crazy about that one because we've been going sideways here, and once again, you already pushed through here once. Now you push through here again. I'd wait on a higher low there, I think, and we just don't get it. We go lower, trying to make that measured move that I showed you earlier. And that really took us into 3 o'clock. I don't see any other shorts here I'd want to take. That one's tempting because it breaks higher and turns down, and it's not really a failure though, because although that does look a lot like a double top, so a first entry, second entry. So you might look at that as 2 legs down and a failure, but you got to go short right into that, and then by the time you get the stem, I don't think you want to go short down here, and that's an inside bar. So I don't think there's any other trades, but this is a strong trend. When you see all these little bars that just kind of, they don't, you'll get a few bursts occasionally when it comes back to the key entry point, but generally it's just real slow and methodical, just steady buying. And you get lots of dojis, lots of stems, and your corrections are very shallow. Like I said, that's a big correction right there, and it took it all back. It took it a minute to push through there. Evidently, there was some strong selling right in here, and it took a little while to buy through there. But these kind of strong trends don't always shoot straight up like that. They generally just keep going higher, and then they'll get a little burst, and they keep going higher. And the main thing is you see lots of stems, lots of little dojis, lots of small bars, and very mild corrections, and then bounces off the trend lines and the key entry points. When you see that on a trend like this, it's up like this, it's hard to turn these trends. And it didn't really slow down. It never really turned. You just got a correction there. But that's probably because it's getting late in the day and all the trading was probably mostly done, or all the buying was done there, and the target was met for another reason. See that target right there? And we backed off of that. We had a two-legged correction, so we could see another leg up. We'll just have to see. But obviously, I didn't go on my fishing trip. It was just too short notice, and they had some problems with the boat that we chartered, and we just decided to put it off. So I didn't go fishing. Probably will over sometime in the next month. I'm probably going to. I need some time off if this COVID thing doesn't get worse. I'm planning on taking a fishing trip, or if nothing else, I may just take some time and go to my lake house and stay there for a week with no internet and no phone and no anything, because I just haven't had a good break in a while now. I know I've taken a few days off here and there, but I haven't literally had a vacation in a couple of years, and I need one. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you had a good trading day. When you see days like this, try to get runners on these too, because a lot of these trades had runners on them, and some of them get, you even if you don't get a full, you can't ride the whole day up, you still get a chance to get 4 and 5 and 6 point runners on them before they back up a little bit. So always try to get runners on days like this. This is where you make these are your money days. When you see days like this, take advantage of them. Get as much of them out of them as you can, because you don't get many days like this. We've had 2 in a row. This one wasn't quite the same as today, but this was still a big move up right here. So we don't get a lot of days like this, or here's one to the downside. Take advantage of them. Try to get those runners. Try to hang on as much as you can and see what you can get out of them, and just hold on for dear life. These are, like I said, these days are few and far between. So it does appear that maybe the summer doldrums are coming to an end. It could just be all the craziness going on in the world and people are getting spooked, but there's a lot of buying coming in for people to be spooked. The big sell-off that people were claiming was the next bear correction, all it's done is lead to, I believe this is another new high, 44.83. I think this was the last new high. So I think that was a new high, if I'm not mistaken. I wouldn't swear to it, but I believe that's another new high. And so every correction just is a great, every big correction that seems where it catches people's attention, it just turns out to be a great buying opportunity. One day that won't happen, but I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've said that. Every time we get a big sell-off, it's just a great buying opportunity. And that's where you might want to come in with some some options, some call options in the market, some less than 30, only 30 to 60 days, because you don't want to pay for a lot of time. But it gives you time to get your timing right, and you can't lose a whole lot of money because you're limited on options. So just something to think about when we get to those strong buying points. The way you handle that is just go in and buy you a call option. That doesn't mean you go way out and buy these way out of the money long shots that you don't pay a lot of money for, because the odds are they're never going to hit. And so the way you do it is when you have this correction down here, you come in here and you buy some close to the money call options with only 30 to 60 days. And you see, you didn't need 30 to 60 days. You only needed 2 days. And you would have made, I mean, if you'd have bought down here at 43.60, you'd already have 100 plus points. You'd be in the money. And you could have bought it relatively cheap at the time. So just keep that in mind. And you don't take on much more risk other than what you paid for it. So if you turn out to be wrong and the bear market does start up, well, you know, it was worth the gamble, because when it keeps doing this over and over, you'll make enough money that when it finally doesn't come back, it won't matter, because you wouldn't have lost much and you would have made probably 10 or 20 or 30 times that amount. So just keep that in mind. Know what you're doing. Don't just run out and buy options now that I said that either. Make sure you know what you're doing. But that's the way I would do it. I would come down here when we make these big sell-offs, and I would find some close to the money, 2 or 3. You don't want to get out more than 2 or 3 strikes out of the money, and you don't want to pay for a lot of time. So just get 30 days, maybe 60 days if it's a big sell-off, and you got plenty of time to be right. And you're not going to lose any more money than what you put into it. It may draw down at first, because you may miss the timing by a day or so. But you can see here it would have been quickly into the money, and quickly well into the money. And once you get into the money, option moves almost penny for penny, the same as a true contract. So it's a great opportunity when you want to buy something long term based on you think the market's overbought or oversold. But don't try picking tops that way in a bull market like this. Don't do it. You want to find the big sell-offs and try to take advantage of all those people that are going to have to run for their doors when they figure out the bear market's not here and this market's going higher yet. So anyway, didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but people ask me about that a lot, so I thought I would mention it. But there's the day again, back out. You can see the measured move. It's based on the previous day, but that target would have been a perfect target. Very rarely do you look back in the previous day, but sometimes you have to. A day like this, there's nothing you can't find any previous information here, so you have to go over to the previous day. That's the only time we will. Otherwise, we're looking at what's happening today only. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.